Hello there. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm Colleen Klimczak. I'm an organizational and productivity coach and a certified professional organizer. I own Peace of Mind Professional Organizing, LLC. Since 2003, I've been helping my clients live better lives through organizing and organizational and productivity coaching. I support my clients and my community with coaching, in-person and virtual organizing, my weekly podcast called Your Organized Life with Colleen Klimczak, a free weekly virtual productivity session called Finish Line Friday, a free weekly email newsletter, and regular content on Facebook and Instagram. I also offer presentations and professional development to groups and companies. Coming soon, I'll be launching a membership circle to support my community with even more coaching and productivity content. And coming even sooner, I am going to start hosting my own webinars in September and October to provide even more opportunities for education and support for my community on organizational topics. Want to finish strong with me this week? Join me for Finish Line Friday every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Central for a 2-hour productivity session. Drop me an email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com or follow the Zoom room links on my Instagram or Facebook pages. Welcome to Your Organized Life, episode 93. I think I better do something big for my 100th episode. I don't know what that looks like yet. I think I've got 7 more weeks, so that's not a question for today's Colleen, I guess. What is a question for today's Colleen is something called activation of prior knowledge. Sounds pretty cool, right? So in education, at least in this country, because of summer vacation, there is the phenomenon of the summer slide. The summer slide refers to students forgetting stuff over summer vacation. So children or students are in school for 9-ish months and they learn a lot. And then they take 2.5 months off for summer vacation, which is great, but they do forget things in those 2.5 months. Hence the summer slide. So instead of receiving daily or weekly reminders and opportunities to use learned skills, they lose those reminders and opportunities, so the skills can get a little rusty. Without constantly accessing that information, it can feel like they're losing the information or skills. Educators and other people that are much smarter than me who know these things would argue that the information isn't lost. Students might forget that they know it, but it's not lost. It may be that they and we need to remember how to retrieve it, however. So when we learn, we need to receive new information in our short-term memory, and then through repetition and various brain processes and time, our brain converts that information to long-term memory. I've talked about learning and repetition before, like in my I Am Statements article and episode. When we put in the reps, we, or the students, put in the reps, put in the time, we keep building a skill and working with the information, then that information gets cemented. It becomes a part of us. But like when kids are out of school for a few months, they and we might get out of the retrieval habit. So let's face it, we can all get out of the habit of retrieving and using the information that we've learned. When a student is starting, let's say 5th grade, the teacher can assume a few things. They can assume that because the student is starting the 5th grade, the student has successfully completed learning all the things that you needed to learn to finish 4th grade and all the grades before. We believe that we can make that assumption. There have been building blocks, there have been foundations laid, right? So it's not like if your student is starting 5th grade that they're going to review every moment of pre-K, kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. It doesn't work that way, right? That would take way too much time. However, in the first couple weeks in a school year, in many classes and subjects, what needs to happen is something called activation of prior knowledge. Activation of prior knowledge. I just think that sounds so cool. Your student needs to be reminded that their brain knows things. They have used math, of course, all summer because we really do use it all day, but they might not have needed all the facts since June, and now they need them again. They might not remember that they know the details of that particular science concept or that particular social studies concept or how to write a book report, etc. So the first couple weeks, in addition to introducing new information, there is an activation of prior knowledge. Now, what does that mean to us as adults? Because guess what? Not just 10-year-olds need to have their prior knowledge activated. We do too. Very often when we decide we need to make a change, we think that we must start over, recreate the wheel, make big sweeping changes, and we do not. We do not have to do that because we know stuff, even if we don't remember that we know stuff. But we know stuff, and sometimes we need to activate that prior knowledge. For us, activation of prior knowledge might be returning to healthy practices that got ignored or abandoned over the summer, for example. Yeah, that's a possibility, right? I might not have to start over from scratch on habits, but I might have to remind myself that yes, it's been a while, but I know how to do this. I know how to eat healthy and get exercise and, whatever those routines are that we want to reboot. For example, I've been on this sabbatical while recovering from a procedure. Because of it, and this is weird, I'm not allowed to work out in the 3 weeks after my surgery. I'm not allowed to exert myself, no lifting of anything more than 8 to 10 pounds, etc. Yeah, that's a thing. And at the end of the 3 weeks, I will activate prior knowledge and I will say to myself, I had a good routine around those things and then it fell away, right? And I need to get back to it. So thinking back, I was using my Maxi Climber machine 5 minutes a day. Maybe I take a walk 3 or 4 mornings a week. If I didn't walk, I would at least stretch or maybe do a short meditation. So instead of recreating my routine, because we never truly have to start over, what if I just recommit to what has worked before that I just couldn't do for a few weeks, right? I am much more likely to succeed if I start there. I know how to do this, and it's time to activate prior knowledge. So instead of starting over, I just need to get back on track. I've done this before, so I know it's doable. Another example, I had a great habit and rhythm around meal planning. At the beginning of this year, I decided that I would cook 2 or 3 meals on a Sunday, and then I wouldn't have to cook again for the rest of the week because our weeks generally get really busy. And this strategy was so helpful, and it made my life easier. But as soon as we started traveling this summer on the weekends, of course, it all went away. And that's okay because we've had great travels and I've been exactly where I needed to be to help family members, right? So it's been a good summer. But now as the seasons change again, I want to return to that habit that was so supportive. I want to activate that prior knowledge. I know how to do it. I liked it and it was worth it. So it's time to activate that prior knowledge and get back to that habit. For many of us, our brain seeks novelty. So it would be really tempting for me to say, ooh, I need to completely change and do something radically different to enable my brain to get the dopamine hit that it desires. And maybe I'll go out and buy new stuff for that new activity and spend hours learning how to do it, right? No, not right. No way. I can also remind myself that I will succeed more quickly if I just make what I already know new again. That could be the activation of prior knowledge. I don't have to keep going for new. I don't need to take up another habit. I don't need to solve the problem in a different way. I don't have to do any of that. I can just redo what I already know works. But recommitting to it again makes it new again, which is actually pretty cool, especially if my brain is seeking novelty. So to recap, we know things. Like a grade schooler moving from 4th to 5th grade, we need to get back in the habit of learning, and we need to remember what we already know as a foundation for learning even more things. We can learn. We have the capability. It lives in us. Hello, coaching, right? It lives in each of us. We know this stuff. We just need to remember that we know it, and we need to activate it. We need to recommit to it, and now's the time. So as students go back to school and spend time the first couple weeks activating prior knowledge, we can also spend some time this week and this month activating prior knowledge. My challenge to you and to myself this week is to consider all the different places this idea can apply. It might not be math or social studies or science or even in a classroom. There's other knowledge, other prior knowledge we can activate, right? We don't have to relearn. We already know stuff. Let's just get back at it and make things happen. Support around getting things done, making things happen is what productivity coaching is all about. If it's time to invest in yourself and explore coaching for organizing and productivity, I would love to hear from you. Drop me a line via email at Colleen@peaceofmindpo.com or message me through any of my social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Thanks so much, and talk to you next week.